Welcome to the show, the Great Witness, GALAXSEEERS, the Great Witness, starring Kevin Smith, Dean Kevin from the UK, which he brings back many valuable experiences for us to objectively view and gain more awareness from. So welcome everybody. And what Kevin does is share his experience, and then we comment on it, and we give viewpoints and maybe share some of our experiences too that relate to it. So thank you, Kevin, for being here.
In this real side experience, I was at home with my parents and my older brother. Curiously, it was night time, but at the same time, it was daytime. Yet, only I could see the daytime setting. My brother and parents could not, as I stood in both simultaneously. My parents and brother would insist it was night, although I proclaimed it was day. Interestingly, as I perceived both the night and day scenes, in the night scene would be my parents and brother, how they are on the physical, appearance-wise. But the day scene, that they couldn't see, they still were present in, but looked very alien. Humanoid, yes, but had heads like those grey aliens, with almond-shaped eyes, yet with human skin and not the grey coloration. I would go downstairs and into the street, and still would proclaim it to be daytime, with my parents and brother insisting otherwise. So a kind of multiple level situation, with me aware of both, but they were only aware of the dark scene, with them looking more alien in the light, but human in the dark. This was for me a demonstration of the deception of the dark forces, with their various alien cohorts and minions. The Greys are notorious for keeping company with the reptilians and doing their bidding. The deception along the lines of posing as members of my family, that if successful in deceiving me, they could install all manner of doubts, concerns, and ideas, with my thinking that I was engaging with actual family members. The fact that I could perceive them in their actual forms behind the subterfuge would have been through my real awareness, a real awareness that oversees all of creation, and can read all the ideas that it comprises of, including intent, etc. That when deception and ill intent lurks behind a created visual front, the real awareness can see the flaws that indicate dark force attempted trickery, or the reality of that which hides behind another presented form, as various aliens and reptilians are masterful shapeshifters. The light then, the daytime, was more a representing of this standing in the real awareness that allowed this discernment of what is real, the real light of my being, and the isness, in other words. The darkness would more indicate the unconsciousness of the personal self in this experience circumstances, where alone the personal self can only see what is presented on the surface, and not able to determine the intent, behind the ideas it is presented with. That these aliens insisted it was a night time would demonstrate their own lack of awareness, that they had no recognition of their real awareness or the ears, and had resigned themselves to the unconsciousness of their personal selves. Rather confused were they, as I pointed out the light of what was real, that was very apparent to me, but that which they couldn't recognize. The real side does reveal what people are deciding now, what their intent is, at the moment we happen upon them on the real side. This does include body forms. If people are making poor life choices that are not in any way awareness beneficial, they may project into future lifetimes as reptilian, for example, but we would see them on the real side as reptilian now, as the isness of the real side does show the culmination of what people are deciding in the moment we encounter them. It's possible, then, that my mother and brother may well be projecting into such body forms that reflect their more limiting choices and awareness constricting agreements. So I would see them as what they are deciding now. But that wouldn't account for Peter, my father, who maintains his intent to recognize the ears. So therefore I would go with the view that this was an attempted alien shape-shifting deception.
Go ahead if there's any comments to that. We have Laura.
That's really cool that you see them how they already are deciding the position they're already in, and they don't even see it on the physical sense because they're not aware enough to, or maybe even want to. And it made me think of movies and stuff and video games and all these other forms that would have you agreeing to these scenes and projecting into these weird scenarios. So when the physical body's used up and you're on the real side, you'll be in these strange places and you won't have a clue.
And Dwayne's confirmed also that when you see Dwayne on the real side, it's what he's aware of, you're seeing. So it goes along what you're talking about, your parents and what they're aware of. And then the other thing is, there a lot of times in the movies you see this, but the ones closest to you are the ones most suspect sometimes. They can be infiltrators, or they can have funny attitudes, and because you're in agreement with them, so the influence can come through the ones closest to you. And so we always have to be alert, pay attention, makes sense.
Well, just remind me my experiences of holograms. I have experienced it a lot. Even now, most of the times they try to disguise themselves as the real guides, the reptilian. I have encountered this for almost 3 years or 4 years. I can remember that the first one of the experiences was it longed for maybe 3 or 4 months that I was introduced to a new guide that I called him the Golden Guide. And I was talking with that guide and receiving, orders or things like that. And finally, I realized that it was a reptilian. Or another experience was that, before I starting the NUUU, I was a Reiki practitioner and master. So I was used to using energies and these things and channeling energies sometimes. One time they tried to Actually they tap line me using that trick. They came as a real guys and told me, oh yes, hello, we have brought you a new energy to channel through you. And I got the energy. The amazing and the fun part was that in that time I was participating in swimming classes. I wanted to get my lifeguard, and it was mm, preparing for the lifeguard classes. It wasn't the lifeguard classes itself. So for the preparing, we have to improve our record. For example, for freestyle, the 200 meters, you have to do it under 4 minutes. In that time, before taking that energy, my record was 3:40 seconds. But after I took that energy, maybe you might think that my record has gotten worse, but it was exactly the opposite. My record decreased 10 seconds in a day. And it was shocking. And they were using this trick to fool me. So I believed them that, oh, they are the real guys. This is the real energy. That's why my record has improved. And I gave that energy to so many people. When I used that energy, it could remove things. It could remove, astral creatures, killing them or killing the aura. But for myself, uh, in a very subtle way, they were creating a hole in this part of my aura that the hole remained for a long time. Even now, I have the hole, but I have covered it a bit, but I still have the hole. And they're always trying to manipulate me and changing their souls and telling me, oh, we are the real guys, and etc. And even they try to manipulate me using others people. I can sense that for example, they send other people in the physical or in the astral realm. They tap line them so they can tap line me through that people's. I've experienced it a lot. Or for example, one of our friends, she has faced this issue for 2 years. She could see, she could sense everything, and she could, in that time, 2 years ago, she was sure that she was visiting the real guides. And I know at first, after all my experiences, I got to know that they were not the real guides. And I told her, but in that time, she couldn't understand it because she didn't have the experiences and the awareness. And they were with her. They had done so many things to her. They had made her to do so many things, so many idiotic things. For example, go to that city, stay there, go to that street, stay there for 2 hours. Someone will come and take you. And they had done it for lots of times and nothing happened. Or they had made her to do some foolish things. They had threaten her a lot. If you don't do that, someone will die, your daughter will die, or things like that. And after that, I decided to remove her from all the groups and the channels. And she was used to call me, and she was calling me all the time. So I blocked her on my phone message and everywhere. I blocked her everywhere. And after 2 years, I decided to put our Telegram ID on the channel, so everyone that wants to join the groups can use that ID. Added her in the group. At first, I wanted to remove her again, but maybe it was an intuition that told me, wait, maybe it's a chance that the real guys are giving her. And we took her there, and we agreed with her. and she joined in the new sessions in the Skype. And after that, while she has talked with doing, she had a real soul experience. In that real soul experience, the real guides showed him that how the reptilians are creating the fake real guides. She saw the actors that they were supposed to be the doing and the able and the real guys. She saw the movie makers, the directors, the you know, I don't know what do you call the guy with the camera, and she saw everything about that, and she saw doing in a spaceship too, and she had a watch that the watch wasn't working properly, so she took the watch to a watch repair place, and then she realized, oh, the watch is not set on the real time. It was set on the reptilian time. So she immediately took the watch to the Dwayne, and Dwayne fixed it to the real time. And after that experience, she shared with us. I told her, see, it was what I was telling you all the time. And after that, she started recognizing um, what was real. And she still have the problem with them. They're still trying to infiltrate her, bothering her, threatening her, disguising, or so many things. But now she's far better. Within these 2 years, I couldn't stand talking with her because of the heaviness of her top lines. But now she's really okay, and I'm good with her. And I have experienced this again with my ex-girlfriend, that she was a really great seer in that time. And we separated for 3 years. We separated 3 years ago, but we remained as a really far friends, not close friends. And in a dream that I had about one of her friends, I contacted her and told her about my dream, and tried to introduce NUU to her. She knew about the NUU, she knew about the real guide, but she told me that I'm see doing as someone that is taking energy from everyone, and doing is not a good person that you think. He is abusing you, and he is making an army for himself and something like that, and you can stand with the flow of the energy coming through you. And she said that if I wasn't right about that, I can see your aura, and your aura hasn't changed. It even got worse than before. And I told Duin about this, and Duin explained and told me, you can. At first, he told me you can see on the real side, but he changed his words and he told me you will see on the real side. And 1 day or 2 days later, I saw it on the real side. I was in a zombie land. At first, if I recall the experience, at first we were talking about the NUU machine, the new car. By the NUU, I mean the character Neo in the Matrix. We were discussing about his car and the abilities that the car had. And then the scene changed, and one of the ability of the car was flying. And when we realized that this car can fly, we were so upset because uh, we were telling ourselves, oh, we didn't predict this part, so our plan might fail. Then the scene changed, and I was in a small spaceship that can contain only one human. Maybe it was 1 meter to 1 meter and 1 meter and 1 meter. I forgot the word. 1 meter into 1 meter. And I was in a street, and at first one of an agent Smith appeared up in front of me. I passed him with the spaceship. Somehow I killed him, Then another one appeared. I passed through him too. Then I see one of the girls that I was discussing with her about the car in the previous scene. Uh, she was really frustrated and upset because of the war. And she said the war happened and everyone in the world, they have become into the zombies. And at first, I told her, just let me check out their area. I went to their avenue and check out and see, oh, just me and her and another two has remained human, and everyone else was where they were zombies. Then a girl appeared that she was a zombie. She came toward me, and in the dream I wanted to show my power. I had the feeling like that, so I came out of the spaceship and I started fighting with her. Then I had something sharp in my head, and I tried to slide through this part. I cut through cut his her throat, and I did that, and then the scene changed, and a little blood came out. Then she ate from this blood, and she healed again. So in the next scene, she was sitting on a couch, and in that scene, I had some feelings for her. I had some attachments for her, and but there was another knife there, and I didn't hesitate. I used the knife again and cut her throat again, and I killed her. And there was someone else there that he was trying to help me to calm me down. But I told him, you can't understand me, or you can't help me out to not to be upset because of that. And I did that. And when I woke up, I realized that it was the dream that June has promised me. It was she that she has become a zombie, a knucklehead or something like that. And in the dream, on the real side, I tried to cut all my attachments to her, but still I had attachment to her. That's what that was the reason that I started crying. And these are were my experiences, and I have a lot of experiences about these holograms too.
Thanks a lot. Thank you.
Yeah.
Because you see how I guess you could say deep these emotional attachments get and how restricted they can be. That's cool. Thank you for sharing.
Maybe you can get these people, these reptilians that are pretending to be the real guides as actors. When we start our Netflix series, they can come on. If they're good, they can audition for it. They can be part of the Netflix series. So.
Tell them somebody's got to play the role.
Right.
In this real side experience, I would be watching the television, which was featuring what appeared to be a continuous documentary all about the new presentation, the real universes, the real guides, the structure of creation, etc. The documentary would fade from the screen, and I would seek to find it again. It was as though I had to tease it out from between the usual array of subliminal shows and features that bombard us from the programming television. And there I would find the new presentation documentary again, as it was there, but almost concealed, hidden behind the rest of the one-dimensional promoting shows. I would quickly set my system to record, in case I would be unable to find the new presentation documentary again, as it was a very well put together presentation of real references that pertain to the true reality life is. This may be demonstrated how the real guides have indeed approached everyone on the earth and issued the opportunity, and it is for them to take the next step. That aside from the illusion of literal creation, aside from the personal self, lies this gem of an opportunity that must be unearthed. If the personal self can be placed aside long enough to perceive it, that it can seep through the encasement of it. For if the real awareness of an individual is deciding to recognize the ears, the real guides will have approached the real awareness of the individual on the real side, but it must still filter through to the personal self. The personal self will then have the opportunity, as it features then in its created reality, but must decide to proceed with it. Just as in this experience, the true reality of what is real, this isness, is there, but concealed within layers of a personal self-literal simulation, and must rather be reached for, to be let in. Behind the literal world of one-dimensional television programs, the new presentation, the real guides, and the opportunity to stand real with the true reality could be found. Also, perhaps, there are some aliens or those of a technological ability assisting the new presentation and life itself, by utilizing the very methods the controllers employ to invade our subconscious and program it subliminally. Perhaps some aliens have installed subliminals of their own in the very television programs also, but subliminals of a beneficial nature, real awareness speaking. They have embedded new presentation reference informations amidst all the other controlling and restricting program themes and subliminals. Maybe also there is a hint that as agreement allows, if awareness flourishes the world over, if humanity wakes up more so to what is real, that we may see more apparent presentations of the true reality. We may see the promoting of the real guides and the ears on the very televisions. For as we move along, the idea is to create real education centers and universities on the physical, which will openly provide these real references for all who decide and choose to participate. New presentation documentaries may become commonplace on the televisions, and indeed anything that is broadcasted that doesn't make sense, that doesn't support the ears and awareness, anything that represents subliminal control and taplining and trawled agreements to distortion will be removed. While I was recording the new presentation documentary, I was in the company of others in my house and revealing to them what I had discovered. But then, it's as though I had drawn the attention of the dark forces. For as we go about our process of becoming more aware, as we share with others and extend to them the opportunity, we rather have confrontation from those that wish to keep everyone in creation as agreeing slaves to their controlling positions. A great swirling blackness emerged from the television screen and proceeded to engulf me and the other individuals in my presence. I would suggest this represented some kind of electromagnetic 5G related affliction, perhaps, emanating from the very televisions, as everything technological is rather becoming interconnected and represents a weaponized system overall. From the physical level and through the perception senses of the physical vehicle, perhaps nothing apparent would be afflicting us, as the 5G frequencies would be beyond our perceptual range. But through real awareness, were we to view these lethal frequencies from the real awareness perspective, aside from the personal self, they may well appear this way, as a blackness, a darkness emerging from the very technology, like a few real side experiences I've shared, where I also was attacked by what seemed to be energetic entities right out of my computer screen, as though entities by their very energetic natures can ride the black magic distorted frequencies of the 5G like conduits that allow them access from the lower astral, where entities tend to dwell, through to the physical. It seems then that the nature of the 5G aligns in frequency terms with the lower recesses of the forbidden astral levels, and I doubt the dark forces are unaware of this, and that this was also purposely done, coupled with the lethal qualities of the 5G. This darkness may also represent agreement to distortion, as I have had experiences that present this way, that restricting agreements come encased in an enveloping darkness when they are sometimes revealed and confronted, as overall collective consciousness agreement to control and distortion effects into a darkness that can be seen through the real awareness, a darkness that is blanketing the entire simulation. Seems we had, however, survived the onslaught, whatever it may have represented, and we now were fine, indicating that our real intent, our standing with our real awareness and real guides, afforded us protection, as it tends to do, and allowing the ability to withstand and purge ourselves of this 5G frequency darkness, or to withstand what may have been an entity attack or dark force assault of some kind. And now we would proceed to enter the very televisions, to crawl into them, as they now presented as portals of a kind, and would lead us to the source of the darkness, as we found ourselves in a very dark and gloomy realm. So maybe the lower astral as the source of this energetic darkness. We also were sat in a little cage of our own devising, almost like a cage you might construct to view dangerous animals from, like a shark cage. We were here to observe the source of this darkness, and evidently it was rather hazardous, to the extent that we needed this cage to separate ourselves from it. I was still in the company of the same group, one of which I had the impression was a real guide, as though he felt it prudent to be present and afford continued protection, as he would pass his hands over the cage's structure, which had the effect of bolstering its defences, making it more sturdy and resilient. As his hands passed over the cage bars, so they would become a gleaming, whitish golden colour, as though representing the vibrational protection of the All-Is, as though the isness had infused with the very bars of this cage, and made it impregnable to attack from the ill-intended, just like how the NUUU song can repel individuals of ill intent, as they can't stand to be in the presence of its pure vibration. Then we saw this shambling mass of a creature, its shape ever fluctuating, circling around our cage, but it was unable to get at us. After a while, it would just bound off like a clumsy hellhound, comprising mostly of shadows and a black swirling mist that made up its form. It probably then was indeed some dark force creature or entity of a kind, and the source of the forbidding blackness perhaps, or one that was utilizing the technological 5G frequencies as a conduit to access the physical, evidently a formidable entity, as our safety isness golden reinforced cage was required.
Just like Paul had to start somewhere with Ekankar, and as a lead up to what Dwayne's presenting, we have the reptilians. We had to start with these TV programs and movies, and notice how they started off real innocent and naive and pure, more pure, you know, with the programming, and now it's this pure evil, the portal that they're creating for the energies to come out. It's about murder and crime and all this distortion that's going on in cyberspace, and all this indoctrination that they're doing through the TV and movies. But they had to start. They couldn't just start it right away like this. They had it with, you know, like Leave It to Beaver type programs, and then leading up to like Netflix series that we see now about the apocalypse, and traveling to Mars to get away from Earth because it's being destroyed, and just all this funny stuff. And yeah, if everything you saw on TV and the movies was new presentation, I mean, just imagine how that would be. You know, that the images that people would have would be a lot different. You wouldn't even have to do anything. It just provide them the images and the stories and the plots and everything. Just that alone would be huge for people. The indigenous people didn't have the media, so they were just with nature and with what was going on around them. But here we have the imagery that people are accepting, and things are getting strange, to say the least. So that's a good experience, showing how how things could, just with the media, just that alone, just like stories and images of nature and just like your experiences and others, would help people to like just see things differently, you know, the reality differently. Go ahead, anybody.
Hi, Kevin. I wanted to comment on that black swirling vortex that you saw. When I started singing the NUUU, maybe within like the first week, I had this experience where I was sitting in front of this tunnel. It had two torches on the sides, and it looked like a cave entrance. And even though it was pitch black darkness, I knew that it went really far back. Well, it was all black around me. I was kind of sitting on like a ledge of something, like a archway kind of ledge. It was brick. It had like vines growing on it. I was kind of just sitting there, the only kind of lively thing in the scene. And I was sitting there in this tunnel. It had this fog coming out of it. Even it was, and I didn't think it was possible, but it was adding to the darkness of the scene, just this rolling fog coming out of this cave. And then from the very back of it, from the very point back of it, I started to see this black swirling vortex come and start spinning out towards me. And like being not wanting to face it at the time, what I did was I kind of felt myself get little cold chills, and I just said the word teleport. And then I was gone. I was like getting an overview of like my whole house, and the roof was removed, and I could see all the rooms and things of the downstairs. And there was this tall man, like 6-foot man, looked like a shadow, and he was just walking from room to room, walking through the walls and all this stuff. But it was interesting that I had an experience similar in regards to the vortex. That seems to be either the representation or type vessel that they use to kind of put that out there.
Well, I don't have any experience with the portals at all. I haven't seen them in the physical. You know, I've seen so many people that they're talking about the portals, you know, but myself, I haven't seen it yet.
How about you, Ryan?
No, I haven't seen the physical, but sometimes I saw the people say about some special place around in the forest, and the place I live it. They have some kind of energy in there. Maybe this place has some portal for another place or another world.
Tim, do you have anything to add? Do you have any portals up there in Grants Pass, Oregon?
We have a vortex
Okay.
very near that is pretty famous. They say that if the main vortex on Earth is under the Great Pyramid right now, but when the Earth shifts its whatever it's called, axis or something, that this will probably be the strongest vortex. I don't know. Some people say there's an entity there that they are aware of. I was about Kevin's and everybody's expressions of their real side experiences, and I was thinking at the time about how we see ourselves, our purpose, our intent. Is it that if we were to look back on this physical life and we had the intent and the active effort to present the new presentation and to be involved with the projects, that without interfering with people or trying to convince people, it's their decision, and I wouldn't want to be interfered with by whether you want to call them reptilians or influence or anything. It's everyone's own decision if it's their time to pay attention or not. All we can do is be the example of for those that are wondering or about life and all these experiences. And if it's the real guides present through us what we've been given to offer without forcing anybody or telling them that this is real or true or on and on. It's for them to decide these things for each one of us. So it is really interesting that you see the amount of people that seem to be paying any attention to the new presentation in the Skypes and other ways, like Kevin and Val and whoever's presenting them with ways they've decided to present this through this technology stuff and through the efforts like the restaurants or whatever you're doing to just offer. And if anybody is at that point where they pay attention and think, does it make sense to them? It's their decision, is how I see it. Whether they think that this is all a bunch of lies and made up stuff about the real side and our real side experiences, or we can't tell them that this is true. They have to know for themselves.
Thanks, Tim. Yeah, in a way, this is all made up. So we're making stuff up, but that's the neat thing about it. That's what attracted me, because we can just make it up. You know, and we have the opportunity to have the real side and the physical both to help us understand and get through this creation, which we can just make up. But the real guides on the real side can demonstrate things right away, you know, mock things up, whereas physical here, it takes time to go through our experiences, but we can go through our experiences there quickly on the real side. And then that's how they say, you know, karma is being, your karma can be quicker gotten rid of there. We don't have to do it here, but it can be done there if we recognize, you know, what's going on with everything. But the neat thing is, everything is made up. Everything's just reference. And the real part is the invisible part, the unknown part. So how do we relate to that? That's the process here we're going through. How do we relate to something that's unrelatable? That's the adventure.
It does seem like it's very simple in ways. If a person is at the point of giving up their life for their fellow man, it seems like that's very simple to enter these real universes as a simple way. If you go and give up your life trying to save someone from some physical disaster or something, that the real guides see that you're at that point where you give up the physical.
Yeah, I think it was in the movie we reviewed just recently here, the Dead Poets Society. It's about you have like an attitude, you have nothing to lose, you know, just go for it. You have nothing to lose. But most people do have this attitude, they have something to lose. They've invested in something, an attitude, an idea, physical objects, relationships. But if you have nothing to lose, then, you know, you're, you can listen better, you know, you can take it in, or you can recognize better what's going on. I think it was Janis Joplin. Freedom is when you have nothing left, yeah, nothing left to lose. Janis Joplin's song. Freedom is another word for nothing nothing left to lose. Anyway.
I remember something and I want to share to you, all of you guys. It's about the portals. I remember I saw a movie a few years ago when I was in a university. And this movie about some one of the city of it's a very old city. And this city, this place of the city, the people find a body of the dragon, a real physical, real dragon. And it's a bodyguard of some place, and this place of treasure about some money, gold, and some kind of the weapon energy. And some people kill this dragon and to uh, catch this treasure and use it for their purpose. And last week I saw a movie about pyramids, Egypt pyramids and Central America, and one of them in the Europe, and one of them in Asia. About these pyramids, they have under this all of these pyramids have a large hall under the ground, and no one can enter this hall, these halls, except with some kind of energy can open this door. They told, and the scientists told, it's about some portal for connecting these pyramids to each other and connect to aliens or the people live live in underground. And the kings and politician or the came to this hall and speak to alien or other peoples.
It sounds like under the Great Pyramid, the mysteries, there's, I think it's called the Hall of Luxor, where in the physical, all the treasures of the world are there offered, certain ones.
Maybe one more experience, Kevin?
This real side experience would start off in a school type setting. Many other people were present also, and it seemed as though we all were to sit in silence. No speaking or interaction of any kind was permissible. However, despite this, I seemed to be constructing something, putting something together that I was going to present, although I'm uncertain as to who the recipient of my presentation would be. Then another individual entered the scene. He presented himself as a teacher, but more an enforcer of the silence, as he came and chastised me for not adhering to this silence policy and sitting still like everyone else was doing. So I had the impression then this was a very controlled environment, a restricting representation of creation, with the controllers ever watching and hammering anyone that resists or attempts to step aside from the controlling ideas that the dark forces create and restrict everyone by. The teachers here represented the control factor, representations of one-dimensional indoctrination, with everyone else present in the school setting agreeing with the ideas, the systems of control. As the controllers do view us like this, like little children throughout our lives, restricting us and securing agreement to their control, that we don't become more aware. So such a setting, that of a school, of teachers and the children, was an appropriate representation. Seems then I wasn't in agreement, not conforming to their control systems, putting something together that they obviously didn't like, and getting their attention consequently. I would suggest what I was creating was an idea that was of benefit, awareness speaking, and this enforced silence was very much an indication of how the controllers do not want us sharing the opportunity of becoming more aware, of referencing the real guides of the true reality, as they certainly don't want any of the creational slaves extricating themselves from the agreements that support and maintain the controlling positions of the dark forces in all their various forms. The next scene, I was somewhere else entirely, in a very elevated position, in some kind of high-tech facility high up, many miles skyward. My impression was of it being the planet Earth. Again, I was constructing something. It seemed to be almost a scripted play. There were others present with me, agreeing to assume the roles that this play required. It had the feel of a practice, a preparation for, again, some kind of a presentation. Seems it was more so that we were putting together our presentation beyond the overbearing interference of the dark forces, operating more so on the real side than the physical level, though the idea would be to present throughout creation, and it is the personal selves of individuals on the physical level that we need get the attention of, but beginning on the real side, that we might bring it through to the physical level, make it an actuality there, depending on agreement, as is generally the case. What we were doing also had the effect of drawing the attention of other individuals, as the place was suddenly filled with them. They all looked very human, but were again complaining, like the school teachers, about the noise we were making. So we had gleaned their attention at least, and I was speaking with them. They all seemed to come around to what we were presenting. The overall idea is to get agreement on the real side with all the various beings we encounter, through what we share, as we afford the only real solution to the simulator's perilous situation, the opportunity of becoming more aware that as each individual decides, so does it offset the demise of this creational realm. Suddenly, what appeared to be structures and dwellings were floating in the skies next to our high-tech sky tower, and still further individuals who inhabited these were being drawn to our presentation and agreeing, wanting to become more aware also, and learn of these real references that pertain to the ears. There was by now quite the array of beings in various body types, all manner of varieties of aliens and such. I had received interference with my project on ground level on the Earth initially, so had constructed something here on the real side perhaps, and had drawn the attention of these aliens. The Sky Tower was somewhat in disarray, however, debris scattered about, and as I proceeded to tidy up the Sky Tower, this would have these individuals become even more agreeable, almost like I was refining what I was presenting, making it cleaner or purer, say, that in turn appealed more so to the real awareness of all these beings, that the refinement aligned it more with the true reality of what life is now, that they and we all are a part of, and as such, purer real references would draw those that are ready to become more aware, as they get the nudge from their real awareness and the real guides, that what is presented is sincere, and the intent behind the one presenting is real. What happened next was that a kind of chute that connected to this Sky Tower would appear, and spiraled all the way down to the Earth's surface. There were suddenly thousands of cats that materialized out of nowhere, just the four-legged variety, but they would be communicating with each other and the other aliens, myself and my group, and they would agree to descend this chute from our position here to the surface of the Earth. So I would say there was agreement on the real side with these cats to make their presence known on the physical level of the Earth. As they were getting closer to reaching the ground, it occurred to me that it might be prudent to let the humans know as to the impending arrival of all these cats. So I would convey this idea to the cats, that they would pre-warn the humans as to their imminent arrival in whatever form that would take. The message to do this was passed all the way through the ranks to the ones at the front as they continued to descend, and I accompany them. Maybe then we were taking this agreed upon idea, this presentation, from the real side, where it had been received by these aliens with no physical level interference, back down to the physical level now, to make it an actuality there. My impression was that these cats represented reptilians, but the reptilians that are coming around and getting on board, those who also are wanting to become more aware and agreeable with helping the dire situation of destruction the Earth is currently facing. For cats' eyes are very reptilian in their appearance, and they are in fact affiliated with the reptilians as a species, originally planted here on Earth, that the reptilians can literally sync with them and see through their eyes to monitor the humans, even from planets far beyond where the Earth is positioned. And so, with the cats that represented reptilians descending to Earth, it's very likely I was afforded a future view, of the reptilians making their presence known on the physical, but with the intent of assisting beneficially, that makes sense with the whole of life, and that they were intending also to forewarn the humans as to their arrival. It may well be construed as an invasion, but one with the backing of life and the real guides that will overall be beneficial, and perhaps these cat representing reptilians will literally chase the rats away, as we do refer to the controlling reptilians as the rats. So maybe they're also coming to oppose the current systems and the controlling reptilians that maintain these systems through agreement, and the agreement gleaned from the masses, and that these stepping up and making sense with life reptilians may assist in the removal of these destructive established systems that don't support the natural environment.
So a bunch of kitties are earthbound. You know, you mentioned that the cats were planted here by the reptilians. I just read that just yesterday in book 7. He mentioned that. And dogs too, that they use, they're like little informants, that they're not a natural species that was here. They were created, sort of spliced from DNA.
Yes, I remember when I first shared that experience about a good one and a half years ago now on the Galactic Group, and at first, and Dwayne would agree that he suggested that those cats did represent reptilians. I wasn't sure at first. I had an inclination that was what the real guys were trying to convey through the experience, but Dwayne would say that he saw that as well. And so again, it was a possible heads-up future view that the reptilians at that time were considering coming down en masse to the Earth and presenting themselves for all to see, but from a more beneficial standpoint, and trying to help to change the situations on Earth and remove all the systems that are obviously not supporting of the all-natural environment. But
So thanks, Kevin, for sharing your experiences. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. Would you like to do the NUUU? Okay, I'll start at the NUUU. Tim?
NUUU.
Ryan? Jeremy?
NUUU.
Thanks again. Thanks, everybody.